matchup here against Beatdown, and most of your threats are pretty durable against aggressive and control decks. Some Planeswalkers backing it all up as well.
Yeah, Crackling Doom, a great card here. Now, against a creature-heavy Den Protector deck like Gerry's, that figures to be a little weaker, but what I really like in Gunnar's deck is 3 copies of Elspeth Sun's Champion. That's going to be a key card for him.
Yeah, but Gerry, with a variety of mana creatures and Master the Unseen, has a lot of resistance against Edict effects. So Crackling Doom, a great card right now, very solid against heroic strategies, very good against Esper Dragons, but against Gerry, it will not be one of the most potent cards in Gunnar's deck.
Yeah, and I think the reason to talk about it is that Mardu hasn't been too popular as of late, but Crackling Doom is the reason to go back to the deck. Edict effects are at a premium right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing Foul Tongue Invocation be adapted to decks with no dragons, because right now, people are in the market to pay 3 mana for Diabolic Edict. And so, if that's going on, Crackling Doom is definitely an attractive card to be playing.
All right. Both players trade lands to start the game. It's going to be Gerry with the first creature. That will be Fleecemane Lion, cast off a pair of basics. For Gunnar, he'll have a turn 2 Thoughtseize, get to take a look at Gerry's hand. Now, the one thing I really like about, one of the things I like about Bant is how resistant the deck is to Thoughtseize. You look here, you see lands 3 and 4, Valorous Stance, Den Protector, and Death Mist Raptor. Gunnar basically either has to take the Valorous Stance or take a Den Protector, neither of which is too exciting for him.
Unless Gunnar has some sort of real short-term need to get Valorous Stance out of Gerry's hand there, I think you're almost always better served getting rid of Den Protector if you're playing a removal-based strategy, because if the game goes on for a long time, that's just going to generate a ton of value. Now, if Gunnar is following this up, let's say with another Thoughtseize and a removal spell this turn, then I can get behind taking Valorous Stance. But if there's tempo considerations for Gunnar to take that card out of the hand, I think, generally speaking, he's just better served getting rid of the Den Protector.
So for Gerry, his turn 3 play was Death Mist Raptor. Gunnar had a turn play of his own in Brimaz, King of Reskos. The creature base of Mardu has been mixed up from what you would have normally seen out of, I guess, Mardu decks of a couple months ago. Gone are cards like Goblin Rabble Master, and now they have a solidly white creature base to the deck.
Yeah, it's the deck has definitely become much more of a pure control deck. For a while, it was kind of vacillating between the two roles. You had things like Wild Slash, Stoke the Flames, and Goblin Rabble Master alongside the removal spells. The more recent iterations of Mardu we're seeing are more about, playing more of a control game. The red's basically in the deck just for removal spells like Crackling Doom and Mardu Charm, and otherwise playing a black-white control deck with Elspeth as the ultimate payout.
So an attack for 3 from Death Mist Raptor puts Gunnar down to 11. Gerry follows up with a face-down creature that we can only assume is a Den Protector. His morphs are Den Protectors and Death Mist Raptors, along with a 1-of Stratus Dancer in the main deck. So you go back over to Gunnar. He plays a 4th land and does now have all colors on lines. He plays a mountain. And at 4 mana, we're going to see Sorin Solemn Visitor. It will give creatures plus it to give creatures lifelink. Then he'll go ahead and attack with Sorin. It gets a 1/1 cat into play. Now the cat was not around when Sorin plussed, so it'll just be a 1/1. But for Brimaz, he'll be a 4/4 lifelink.
And this is why I was skeptical of taking the Valorous Stance out of Gerry's hand. With the setup that Gerry has now, he has an opportunity next turn to simply get back the Valorous Stance, take care of Brimaz, and use his tackers on Sorin. And even though Gunnar would have fallen behind if his Brimaz just got tagged by Valorous Stance earlier in the game, the long-term implications of Gerry having a Den Protector in the game, I think, are quite a bit worse.
So this attack, to me, is interesting in that he's offering to trade Brimaz for the Fleecemane Lion. Gerry could have gone for a double block, and if you assume that face-down card is Den Protector, it surprised me he offered it. As it turned out, Gerry just blocked away the cat, and Gunnar goes to 15. But I'm surprised to not see Gerry take the opportunity to kill Brimaz.
Well, I think just as a tempo play here, Gerry has the opportunity to get back Valorous Stance with the Den Protector. He gets to block the token, and then Gunnar has no board whatsoever.
Okay, so
I think this is a little bit more efficient from Gerry's perspective.
Den Protector flips up, he'll get Valorous Stance away the Brimaz, and then here comes the whole team. It's 9 power worth of creatures. And he'll send 6 of it at Sorin and 3 of it at Gunnar, so Gunnar will go to 12. But yeah, has no board right now. And one of the things I like about Gerry's on here is that it is a very aggressive line. And if you assume your opponent is on cards like Elspeth, that puts a lot of pressure on Gerry to be aggressive. Just the play of tapping 6 mana and casting Elspeth is very difficult for Bant midrange.
Yeah. Though, Gerry does have a Den Protector in play, so he has some hope that even if Elspeth comes down and starts plussing, he still has 1 eligible attacker. So if he's able to get in a big hit this turn, Elspeth's actually turned off as a way for Gunnar to stabilize without additional help.
Nomad Outpost from Gunnar Brinkman. You pass back to Gerry. He does have enough mana to use Monstrosity on his Fleece main line. Gunnar's hand, however, is a Wingmate Rock, a Crackling Doom, and more land. So if Gerry makes the line into a 4/4, it will be susceptible to Crackling Doom. But if Gunnar spends a Stabilize with Elspeth, maybe he wants Crackling Doom to hit Den Protector anyway.
Yeah. No, I think that's got to be the card that Gunnar wants to remove here. I mean, I would imagine that Gerry is just going to be sacrificing the Death Mist Raptor here. I believe he picked up another Den Protector, so this fits very naturally into Gerry's curve. And now with Gunnar falling to 6, Elspeth isn't even an out because Gerry, with a second Den Protector in hand, now has 2 different attackers that are eligible to attack through Elspeth's tokens. And unless Gunnar has some huge play here, we're going to be moving on to game 2 momentarily.
And that's the play you mentioned there. Gerry with a face-down Death Mist or Den Protector. Gunnar at 6. There's going to be 4 3-power creatures on Gerry's side if he flips that up. See whether he wants that. Is it better face up or face down? He'll go ahead and just keep the morph face down. Force Gunnar wants to have that flexibility. And his hand a pair of Den Protectors.
And Gerry also has the option here of getting back the shows the Stratus Dancer there, has the option of just getting back a removal spell, Valorous Dancer. Protect his creatures inside of combat. He's got it covered in a variety of ways. All
right, so game 1, solidly in the camp for Gerry Thompson. And these players are going to move to game 2. One thing, we are currently in season 2 of our Star City Games Opens. What that means is these players are building toward the season 2 invitational. Invites will be extended to any of the players who make top 8 at this event. Now, if you don't know, the SCG season 2 invitational, that's going to be taking place at Origins Game Fair. So the Columbus Invitational featuring the Open Series at the Origins Game Fair. This is going to be 5 days of Magic the Gathering. And this is a special invitational in that we actually have last chance qualifiers for this on Thursday. So if you're in the area or going to Origins, it's a great convention, and want to try to qualify for this event, maybe I haven't had a chance to play some IQs, haven't had a chance to top 8 a Star City Games Open. We will be holding 16-man on-demand flights with open points and prizes, and the winner getting an invite to the Invitational.
The Origins Game Fair is a great gaming convention. If you're interested in Magic primarily, well, there's plenty of opportunities for you to qualify for the Invitational. And even if you fail to do that, there's going to be IQs and a variety of side events. And if you're involved in other games as well, if you like board games or miniatures games or what have you, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to play that at Origins as well. As Matthias just mentioned, there's going to be last chance invitational qualifiers Thursday night. The Invitational Open Series and IQs, everything that we have at our Invitationals, over $80,000 in cash prizes over the course of the weekend. And this is all held at the Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio, which is just a great gaming convention, whether you're only about Magic or other games as well, June 3rd through 7th.
Yeah, we'll have a Modern Open there, as well as a Modern Super IQ on Friday, and the game night we'll have our own Star City game night on Friday, giving away collectible pins and foils like you'd expect from game night, except we're going to go ahead and give some of the out-of-print ones back as well. So if there's some of them, say like, the kitten that you're so fond of and you've missed the chance to get that, you're going to want to make it there to play in those events.
Yeah, not everyone has the opportunity to just steal the pins they want from the production staff. So if you've missed your opportunity to get some of them, well, this is your chance.
All right, let's look at the sideboards for this. So starting with Gunnar Brinkman, down a game with Mardu mid-range. I would assume he wants to become more of a control deck post-board here.
Absolutely, and a lot of this is going to depend on how familiar he is with Gerry's list. He's got 2 Archfiends of Depravity, 2 Wingmate Rocks, an Outpost Siege, an Erase, a Crux of Fate, a Bio Blight, a Drown in Sorrow, 2 copies of Duress, 2 Utter End, 2 Read the Bones. So I like converting into a control deck here because Gerry's not really pressuring his life total all that much. So I think you can bring in things like Read the Bones. I like the Utter Ends in this matchup as an answer to Death Mist Raptor and also to Mastery the Unseen. I'm not sure if Gunnar is aware that it's in Gerry's deck, but that's a very problematic card for an attrition removal-based deck like Gunnar's to play against. I would even consider bringing the Erase to that end because it's an answer to Mastery the Unseen, and Gerry has Courser Crufix as well. I think Archfiend of Depravity is a fine card to bring in. Gerry's a little bit vulnerable to flyers, and it's a fine answer to Archfiend. To Mastery the Unseen.
Yeah, Archfiend, that's a card that normally we've seen as something that players want against Devotion decks, but the Bant mid-range deck frequently has more than 2 creatures in play. It's not a terrible card here.
I don't think it's going to be a home run, but I think it's a totally reasonable card for Gunnar to bring in.
And now on Gerry's side, he also can go bigger. You see he has 3 copies of Elspeth Sun's Champion in his own board. And to that effect, I would think he'd bring it in as well.
Yeah, if Gunnar's doing his thing, it's probably blowing up a lot of Jerry's board. Gunnar's deck's not particularly fast, and Elspeth should be a potent tool here.
Yeah, because he's against a 3 Elspeth deck, I imagine Gerry will bring in his 3 copies of Disdainful Stroke. We see those actually coming in a lot out of the Ojutai Bant deck.
I think it's just a very, very potent card to have alongside Den Protector, and it wouldn't surprise me if eventually these decks start moving some number of negate Disdainful Stroke effects to the main deck, because it just plays so well with Den Protector.
Now, cards like Glare of Heresy or in this deck, now there's a lot of white threats in Gunnar's deck, but at what point, Gerry wants more removal, but at what point does he need to keep his threat count high?
Well, with, cards like Dragon Lord Ojutai, maybe that's not reliable in the face of Crackling Doom, Master of the Unseen as well, Den Protector. He's pretty threat dense, even if he cuts down a lot of his creatures. He has some staying power. So I think it's fine to board in cards like Glare. He has to be able to beat Elspeth. It's one of the more problematic cards for him in the matchup. I think he's also going to bring in the 1 Stratus Dancer in his sideboard to go up to 2 copies alongside the 3 Disdainful Strokes. Gunnar bring in a lot of expensive spells to the table, and Stratus Dancer is just another quality counter spell.
All right, so with that, we are going to go ahead and move into game 2. Gunnar, Brinkman, he's on the play with Mardu midrange. Both these players sit at 8-2. This is round 11 of 15. Players are gunning for a 12-3 record to put them into top 8. And with that, we're on the play. Nomad Outpost is going to be the start for Gunnar. We look at Gerry's hand, has boarded in Glare of Heresy. You see he has copies of Courser of Krufix, Deathmist Raptor, and Dragonlord Ojutai all in the opener. For him, the start will be a Temple. Gunnar, building his way up toward Elspeth, does have 1 in his opener. And Thoughtseize will show off just what he's fighting against. From Gerry Thompson's, we see a second land, an Elvish Mystic, a Master of the Unseen, a Glare of Heresy, and then a pair of green-green 3-drops, Courser of Krufix and Deathmist Raptor.
And you're seeing a lot of the power of Bant midrange here is it just has a ton of staying power. It's very hard to attack Gerry's hand right now. And he's got a variety of cards, Deathmist Raptor, Courser of Krufix, that allow him to play a longer game. Master of the Unseen as well.
Yeah, just such a diversity of threats. And once again, it's the situation where you Thoughtseize the Bant midrange deck, but it never seems like the Thoughtseizes are that good.
It's very rare that Bant midrange has 1 integral card to the hand, because it's pretty redundant with its ability to weather the storm of removal and discard effects and so forth. So it's rare for this deck to have a hand where, okay, it's just Courser of Krufix unless the rest of this hand doesn't really function, or it's just Master of the Unseen and there's no other staying power with the hand. You don't see hands like that a lot out of this deck.
He'll go ahead and take care of Mastery of the Unseen. Doesn't want Gerry to get that one right off the bat. He'll play a Temple. Master seems like a pretty reasonable card to take, as it's possible that Gunnar just doesn't have a removal spell for it.
For me, it's much the same camp as Den Protector, which is unless there's something really specific you're trying to accomplish, you're going to be best served getting that card out of the hand. It's a huge long-term concern for Gunnar, and if his removal strategy is going to work, he has to cut off the recurring sources of card advantage that Gerry's deck has, and Master of the Unseen is very high on that list.
All right, another Thoughtseize from Gunnar will show the hand. It's the same one as before, except Gerry has drawn a copy of Stratus Dancer. Now Gunnar can make some inroads, and it'll be interesting to see what he chooses. Courser of Krufix seems to be one of the more powerful cards in Gerry's hand right now, as he doesn't have a 3rd land.
There's no obvious hole in Gerry's hand again, and he needs land drops. So to me, it feels like Courser's the standout card of this hand.
Then again, if he just can't beat Dragonlord Ojutai, he may be forced into taking that.
Possibly, but taking Courser Krufix also probably allows Gunnar a lot of time to find an answer to Dragonlord Ojutai. So
right.
Even if he can't answer it, I still think he's probably best served getting rid of Courser.
And that's what he'll do, then play another Nomad Outpost. So a pair of Thoughtseizes to start the game from Gunnar, along with some tap lands. And for Gerry, it'll be Deathmist Raptor. He did not hit land number 3. But despite getting Thoughtseized twice off some pretty key cards, and this is what I like about Bant, Gerry doesn't even seem behind on the board.
No, he's doing fine. I mean, he does need blue mana. He needs land drops. He picked up an Elspeth last turn, which is not what he's looking for when his hand's a little tight on mana. But in spite of getting hit by 2 copies of Thoughtseize, it's not like his hand's non-functional.
No. Land 4 from Gunnar. We'll see if he can make a threat of his own or whether we're just going to play more of a control game. It looks like it'll be control. He'll pass the turn. For Gerry, his draw was a land. It wasn't blue mana. But he's going to draw a card, and now during draw step, Gunnar is going to use Mardu Charm to make Gerry discard.
And we started to see Mardu Charm pick up a lot in popularity. It's pretty potent against Goblin Rabblemaster and a couple other token generating effects of the format. It's another spell that can kill Dragonlord Ojutai alongside your copies of Crackling Doom. And the coercion effect gives it a little bit more game against certain control decks. And with Soulfire Grandmaster, you can set up a lock inside of someone's draw step. It does come up against Abzan decks.
And this is a pretty telling play. The card he took out of Gerry's hand is the copy of Glare of Heresy. So if you're on Gerry's side, that to me really telegraphs that Gunnar's building up toward Elspeth.
Or any white threat. I mean, Gerry's hand is not very good outside of the Glare. I mean, it's Elspeth and some blue cards, when Gerry has no blue mana. So I agree with you. It's likely that he's playing towards Elspeth, but not necessarily. It does seem like that's the one real standout card in Gerry's hand right now.
Well, unless Gerry's just going to continue to play creatures, and he has Gunnar down to 12 as he attacks with Death Mist Raptor and Elvish Mystic. Spends the turn making a face-down Stratus Dancer. Gunnar will knows what the morph is and knows that Gerry cannot flip it up as of right now. Yeah, Gunnar has done a great job making Gerry discard cards, but that said, it has not slowed him down too much. Seeker of the Way will be the play for Gunnar. No other land drop. Gerry draws land mana source 5. It's a Plains.
Not blue mana, which would be ideal for Dragon Lord Ojutai, but at least he's getting closer to Elspeth. Would
like to see blue mana both for Ojutai and for that Stratus Dancer that's face down. And Gerry will just swing the Death Mist Raptor. Gunnar goes down to 9. Gerry with a 5th land. We need one more for Elspeth, and we pass back over to Gunnar. He does draw a land. It's a Temple of Silence. Scry will keep it on top. And now the players racing toward their respective Elspeths. Who's going to hit first? Seeker's going to attack from Gunnar, and it may not be an Elspeth race. You see Mardu Charm from Gunnar. Yeah, he'll attack Gerry, no blocks, and now Mardu Charm will take Elspeth out of Gerry's hand and prowess the Seeker of the Way.
That is one line of play, and I'm fine with it. The other, slightly greedier line of play is just to deal 4 damage to the Elvish Mystic and really put Gerry under some...
Oh, wow, yeah.
We'll see how it shakes out there. I would have been hard-pressed to turn down a removal spell on the Elvish Mystic and try to get both effectively kill the Elspeth by straining in Gerry's hand, but I can respect also trying to play it safe here and just getting rid of Elspeth.
Well, attack's going to come in from Gerry. That'll put Gunnar down to 6. And then he plays Fleecemane Lion. However, for Gunnar, he does have land 6. He's kept that one on top with the Scry, and it's going to be Elspeth making 3 tokens. And this is the strategy against Bant midrange. Yeah. The one weakness of the deck is Elspeth Sun's Champion.
And now, at this point, it's hard for Gerry to even respond with the Dragon Lord Ojutai in his hand. Even if he were to draw blue mana untapped this turn.
Yeah, if he draws an untapped blue mana, what he can do, and there'll still be a lot of damage, is he can just flip up Stratus Dancer and start using it as a flyer to attack Elspeth. Now, that line certainly is fraught with peril. Gerry can have kill spells, and even if it does work, there's going to be a lot of soldiers waiting around.
Well, the other line of play is Gerry can go ahead and cast Dragon Lord Ojutai, assume that Gunnar is going to go ahead and minus to take care.
Then kill it with Stratus Dancer.
And then Stratus Dancer can wrap it up. But this is all predicated on Gerry drawing blue mana, and his draw step was, in fact, another copy of Dragon Lord Ojutai, so...
Yeah, the Bant Mirage deck has a great diversity of threats, but the one thing is they have in common is that they're all pretty well answered by Elspeth. So Gerry with a draw, no effect on the board right now. Elspeth's going to get another plus. He has to kind of figure out the game plan he's on. It's going to be very hard for him to deal additional points of damage. So he'll try to keep the soldier count low while he can. Swings all 3 creatures. I imagine them all at Elspeth.
And this feels like a pretty good spot for Gunnar to put 2 tokens in front of the Morth and just get that off the table.
Yeah, what I like about Gerry's line here is he's aggressively sacrificing the Stratus Dancer, because if he makes that play, those Elspeths will go there 2. Gunnar gets to plus it to 3 on his own turn, and it does mean if Gerry top decks an island this next turn and plays Ojutai, then in order for Gunnar to kill the Ojutai, he will have to get rid of his own Elspeth, because it will only be at 3.
By the same token, I'm fine with Gunnar making some effort here to get the Stratus Dancer off the table.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that card's also problematic if Gerry draws blue mana exactly next turn. So
yeah, his play there is he's trying to set up a great situation if he draws Island or Yavimaya Ghost. And for Gunnar, it's going to be Sorin Solemn Visitor. That pluses. This is a ton of life points.
And Gunnar really setting up a pretty solid shop here. Remember, we saw Gerry at the end of day 1 yesterday really struggled to beat a Sorin emblem when the player was able to go Sorin to 5, Sorin to 6, generate an emblem. With Elspeth in play, Gunnar's got a lot of opportunity to protect Sorin until Sorin is able to go ultimate. Or Gunnar can simply win by damage racing at this point because his board is so substantial.
Yeah, he can make flyers. He can end tokens. And yeah, the combination of making to 1/1s with Elspeth and giving them lifelink with Sorin may just be good enough on its own.
Yeah.
Gerry did draw the land for the turn, but it wasn't blue. It was a copy of Windswept Heath, so he has no play but to make that and pass back to Gunnar. He does swing Fleecemane Lion to get another soldier off the table. Gunnar will chump it, gain 2 life, as the soldier still does have lifelink. And now a Thoughtseize from Gunnar will tell the story of 2 Ojutais. Goes down to 13, 1 Ojutai in the graveyard. And both the Planeswalkers just keep on plussing. Elspeth up to 4, making 3 soldiers. Sorin up to 6, making them into 2/1 lifelinkers. And Bioblight will take care of the Deathmist Raptor. And now Seeker of the Way is a 4/3 lifelink. It will be joined by 2 2/1 lifelink soldiers. They all crash into a board of just Elvish Mystic. And Gerry is done playing the game.
Yep. Nothing for Gerry to do. Even if he draws blue mana that turn, Dragon Lord Ojutai is not going to be anywhere good enough. And were to draw a castable spell, that's not going to help either.
So Gunnar Brinkman evens the match up at 1 game apiece. As they go on to game 3, they go back to their sideboards. Now, we were talking about the Columbus Game Fair and about how we're having a super game night there, but you can find game nights not just at the Game Fair, but you can find them at your local store. This is the StarCityGames.com game night promotion that we've been running for almost half a year now. If you are not familiar with game night, what it means is it's a fun, friendly event where each store is given 8 foils and 2 pins each week to be given out as prizes. Stores can sign up for this. And each month we get a new featured art. For May, it is going to be the bee. This is the pin that you see on our jackets and on the screen here. You get them as the pin and tokens given away at the event. Now, we do know the ones coming up in the future, so you're going to want to get on the ball for registering for this. Next month, we have the bunny in July. You see this very militaristic bunny with quite a plan to capture the carrots.
Absolutely. The full-blown version of this artwork on the playmat is delightful, where you get to see some more specific plans. And we have the July pin here, ready to go. I have not seen this one yet. The piglet.
Excellent. He has little boots. Because I guess he's running through the mud.
Yeah.
He needs boots for that.
This will be the first token in our summer creature collection, by the way, as that runs July, August, September.
Yeah, so game night, you can find it out where your game night is at starcitygames.com/game night. We have an event finder to find those. Remember, you want to get on the ball. These, once the month is done, they become collector's items as they are out of print. So talk to your game store to get this running. Find out more, starcitygames.com/game night.
Very easy to get signed up. You can go over to that website or just contact your Star City Games organized play representative, the same people you talk to, for getting the IQs and so forth set up in your store.
So back on to game 3. We see Gerry has brought in his Glare of Heresies to deal with something like Elspeth. But in that situation, Gunnar, what is the line that he took in this game? So Thought Seizing twice, that's fine, keeping in Thought Seizing, but then using all his Mardu Charms as discard spells as opposed to killing creatures. He really seems to be going at Gerry's hand.
Well, he was able to take some cards out of Gerry's hand and turn Gerry's deck into basically just a straightforward creature deck in that game, which is not where mid-range excels. You want to get some of the interlocking pieces in play, or you want to be getting Dragon Lord Ojutai into play and connecting. Gerry wasn't able to cast Dragon Lord Ojutai because he had no blue mana, and he was not able to establish any of his interlocking pieces like Dem Protector plus Deathmist Raptor or Mastery of the Unseen plus a bunch of mana. And at that point, he's just playing a pretty anemic creature deck, and Gunnar was able to easily stabilize that game with Elspeth and then Sorin on top of it.
Yeah, I do like there was not much consideration given to the Ojutais at any point when we saw them in Gerry's hand. Now, to be fair, Gerry never had blue mana, but the threats that Gunnar seems to be more worried about do seem to be things like Elspeth, Mastery of the Unseen.
Gunnar is playing with a lot of 1-for-1s. They're powerful 1-for-1s, but they're still 1-for-1 cards at the end of the day. So the problematic cards for him in the matchup are things like Master of the Unseen, even Courser Crufix, cards that allow Gerry to just get an advantage on total number of resources. That's the type of cards that Gunnar needs to fight over.
We're on our way, game 3. Gerry on the play with turn 1 Elvish Mystic. He'll get to ramp into some pretty early starts. We see Elvish Mystic swings. He makes a second Mystic and an Evolving Wild, so he could have up to 5 mana on turn 3. Over on Gunnar, he started on Nomad Outpost. A Thoughtseize would be well timed here, as he certainly wouldn't want something like a turn 3 Ojutai to hit him.
This would also have been a pretty good turn for Bile Blight if they were still in Gunnar's deck. He's only got 2 copies in the main deck. I'm not even sure if they're still in there, but this would be the kind of draw where Bile Blight would be outstanding.
Well, he had them for game 2. Remember, he actually Bile Blighted a Deathness Raptor at the end of the game. So unless he's re-sideboarded, he does still have them. Yeah, it would have been a great spot for Bile Blight. You see Gerry with Yavimaya Coast in hand. Imagine he'll go ahead and get Plains here.
But even if Gerry is able to fire off a turn 3 Dragonlord Ojutai on the play, Gunnar can simply answer with Crackling Doom. And that's a response that not a lot of decks in the format have. Even the decks with Hero's Downfall are forced to just kind of sit there with Downfall mana up and hope that the Bant mid-range player cooperates. But no such thing on Gunnar's side if he has Crackling Doom.
And this is going to be that turn 3 Ojutai. So Gerry has one in play. Now the pressure is on Gunnar. Does he have Crackling Doom? Does he have the untapped land for Crackling Doom and the card? Here's the land. Here's the removal spell. Both halves, and Crisis averted for Gunnar. Ojutai's in the graveyard, Gerry down to 18.
And you can see why this card's starting to pick up some steam. I don't know how good the Mardu deck is at the end of the day, but Crackling Doom right now is a very attractive option.
So if you look at your other black-white mid-range decks, your decks like Abzan, that play of the turn 3 Ojutai from Gerry would have been lights out.
Exactly. The Abzan player would just have to sit there with mana up and hope that Gerry would attack into a downfall.
Gerry playing a second copy of Ojutai. Can Gunnar do it again? Nomad Outpost, and he does. Second Crackling Doom takes care of second Ojutai. And this is worrisome for Gerry because there's a chance that he kept his hand predicated just on the strength of 1 Ojutai, not even 2.
I mean, his board's a lot of mana right now. His hand is a Caryatid, a Deathness Raptor, and another land. So if Gunnar is making his way towards Elspeth, Gerry's hand's not well suited to fight that right now.
Yeah, hey, with Gunnar at 18, Gerry's not going to kill him before he gets Elspeth going. And you see face down Deathness Raptor cast from Gerry, showing that really he doesn't have many sinks for his mana. And Gunnar's hand, I think he plays a 5th land untapped. I believe he has Elspeth and a 6th untapped land already in hand. This is just how he drew it up in the playbook.
Yep.
And Archfiend of Depravity is the play for Gunnar. So that means at the end of Gerry's turn, he will have to sacrifice down to 2 creatures. And just right on time, Gerry's draw for the turn was a copy of Mastery of the Unseen.
Yeah, Archfiend was a card where, I wasn't positive that Gunnar was going to bring it in. It seemed, good but not great in the matchup based on what Gerry had brought to the table here. But it's very good in this spot as Gerry is kind of saturated with a lot of cheap creatures and now Mastery of the Unseen as well. Yeah,
this card, one of the best answers to Mastery. So Gerry's going to go ahead and swing in with the face down morph. Remember, it is a copy of Deathmist Raptor. So had Gunnar blocked, it would have been a trade between the 2 creatures. But Gerry really does want to get this off the board. And yeah, I think the strength of Mardu right now is that its threats are lining up very well in the metagame. I don't think just on the surface it's one of the most powerful decks, but if you look at this, it's able to 1-for-1 with what a lot of people are doing, and not all your black decks are great at that.
And the sources of card advantage for the deck are things like Elspeth and Sorin, and in this kind of matchup, they're very, very good. Those cards are not always lights out kind of threats, but
exactly.
Against Bant, Elspeth especially.
Swings for 5 in the air, puts Gerry down to 9, and here's Elspeth, Sun's champion. So for the second game in a row, here to clean up, and Gerry's deck without clean answers to the card. And he'll use his end of turn to manifest. Remember though, these creatures are pretty temporaries. He does have to sacrifice to Archfiend.
Also, look at Gerry's life total. I mean,
yeah, 2 Crackling Dooms and an Archfiend hit. That's 9.
He does not have a lot of time to dig himself out of this.
And go back over to Gerry's side. He has a copy of Sylvan Caryatid in hand. That's not going to help. It has a blue card. But it may just be something like Stratus Dancer. He doesn't, because of the style of his deck, he doesn't have very many removal spells. So things like Archfiend of Depravity, he doesn't get them off the board very well. Yeah, Disdainful Stroke has been his draw in hand. That's late.
Gerry has Valorous Stance, Dromoka's Command. He does have some answers to creatures, but he's not flush with the removal.
Swings in with both the Morph and Manifest. They're going at Elspeth. 1 creature jumps in the way of the Manifest. Elspeth's down to 3. End step, Jerry's just going to have to sacrifice. The manifest will go away. It was a flooded strand.
And I like Gunnar's play there of not making efforts to trade his tokens for Jerry's tokens because Gunnar has the Archfiend.
Right. They're already dead.
Yeah. So I like chump blocking, protecting Elspeth as much as possible, but there's no need for Gunnar to go ahead and actually try to kill this stuff, as Archfiend has it all contained to begin with.
So a plus from Elspeth, and now the team of Elspeth. Soren into play again, and Gerry will definitely disdainful stroke there. Cannot afford to lose to that, but still in a really tough spot. Goes down to 8, so he had to use the Yavimaya Coast. And Gunnar will swing with the 2 soldiers and the Archfiend. That's 7 damage if Gerry chooses to take it. He can trade Elvish Mystic for one of the soldiers, but he'll fetch.
He has an option of making a manifest token here and blocking one of the tokens. And that may have been Jerry's turn anyway, so I'm sure he's fine with the attack, more or less, but Gerry's still in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, if he draws a Valor Stance, he can take care of the Archfiend, but then he has the issue of Elspeth, and he's so low on life points right now, he's going to go down to 2 off this hit, that the leftover 1/1s are just going to clean it up.
If he's even able to do that.
And yeah, once he taps to make a manifest, Gunnar downfalls the manifest token, so there's no blocks for Gerry, and because he cracked that fetch land, he's at 7. 7 damage comes across, and Gunnar Brinkman is your winner in 3 with Mardu midrange.
Gunnar did a very good job of in game 2 of turning Jerry's deck into just sort of a normal deck. He picked apart the critical pieces and was able to beat him with Elspeth. Game 3, Jerry's draw was what it was. He could accelerate and do a turn 3 Dragon Lord Ojutai. He could actually do it a second time the following turn, and then just put Gunnar to the test to see if Gunnar was armed with the removal spells to break it up. He had 2 copies of Crackling Doom. Jerry kind of had a flood out there after the fact. His hand was mostly just mana, and then Archfiend and Elspeth together were too much for Gerry to overcome from that spot.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty tough spot. I mean, there's a lot of pressure. You get pressure on Gunnar, not only to have 2 Crackling Dooms,